Hey everybody, American Phoenix here. And today for breakfast, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to go ahead and make some fresh bread and then try a recipe I've never tried before called a Welsh rarebit. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I hope it turns out good. So I thank you guys for coming along with this journey with me today. I love you guys, and let's get after it. Alright everybody, well, here we go. Time to do something that I've been meaning to do for a little bit now, but I wanted to work on a few other simpler meals beforehand. So we're going to go ahead and make some fresh bread. Now in here I've just got general all-purpose flour, okay, as you can see. I've got a little bit of salt, just a couple pinches of salt, and a little bit of sugar to help the yeast. Now I'm using an active dry yeast, so this stuff says that you do not have to activate it beforehand, so cool. So we're just going to go ahead and pour that in there. Mix it up just a little bit. And then right here I went ahead and you need a little bit of heated water. This is not boiling hot, but it's got a little temperature to it. So we're going to go ahead and pour that in. We'll see where we're at with that. Let's get that mixed up. Just give it a nice little mix. Okay, yeah. Go ahead. Add a little bit more. Now, I'm not very experienced when it comes to making bread. I've done it a few times with decent results. But this, I wanted to make a dish called a Welsh rarebit. And for that, you need bread. You need bread, you need butter, you need cheese, a few spices, and then you need, what is it called? An egg yolk. Okay, this is a little bit too moist. I actually need a dough. Add a little bit more flour to this. And yeah, no, I do not use any kind of exact measurements with this. I should, okay? I really should. I've often said in my life that let's just see what happens when an idiot tries it. And that's essentially all that this is. That's kind of all the series is just what happens when an idiot tries this. Something that they're really not that experienced with, something that they don't know that well. I mean, yesterday I made Hasselback potatoes. That was new, I'd never done that before. And then today I'm doing bread making, which is something I'm not the most experienced at. And I'm going to make a Welsh rarebit, which is something I've never made before. So I'm going to go ahead and get my gloves off because I need to get in here a little bit. And yeah, this is very, very sticky. So it's a very, very moist dough. I added too much water too soon. I'm going to have to use more of this flour. I really wasn't planning on it, but again, what happens when an idiot does it? And you know what? It's okay, because this loaf of bread should be enough to last me, hopefully, for the rest of this. And I might actually go ahead and make 2 loaves of bread out of this, just for the sake of things. See, because I'm not even sure how well this is going to rise. I've never used this kind of yeast, or this brand of yeast before. But we'll see. It should be fun. Really, that's kind of, too, what this is all about. And I hope that I've done a good enough job conveying that, is that I want cooking to be fun. Because this is what I do to relax. As I've talked about, and mentioned a few times, I drive truck for a living. I make my living behind the wheel. And that really limits you on what you're able to do as far as activities. You know, believe it or not, most truck drivers don't cook. There's a lot of us who do now, and it's starting to become a more popularized thing. I'm noticing. I'm seeing more people on TikTok and even a few other, you know, plenty of other people on YouTube that are doing the trucker cooking series, and that's amazing. When I first started trucking, that wasn't a thing. You know, if you met somebody who cooked, he was kind of the weird one. Now, that's a modern thing in a way, but also not really. Most drivers wouldn't cook like this back in the day. But what they would do is, most drivers, and I've actually got one of these in my truck, have a barbecue back in the day, and they would have truck stop parties. You know, everybody would get off on the weekend. You know, back then freight shipping was different, so everybody would go meet up. Somebody would go to the store, you know, pick up a dozen steaks or 20 pounds of hamburger or what have you, and everybody would just have a party, and they'd all sit there and they'd drink beer or soda and coffee, and they would just sit there and they would talk and have fun, and it was a way for the drivers to relax on the weekend when they weren't working. So the concept of truckers cooking isn't new, but cooking like this, the baking, the doing different kinds of dishes, that's a little out there for a lot of drivers. I still get kind of weird looks at the truck stops when I tell people that I cook like this. So, I don't know. For me, this is a good escape. You know, it really is. Because I've always loved to cook. I've always had a passion for cooking. It's always been something that I found fun. So, for me, I just like it. It's a way to relax, a way to enjoy life, so that I'm not stressed out all the time. Because trucking can be a very stressful profession. You know, you're away from your family and your friends and stuff all the time. And that, believe it or not, is the biggest cause of washout for drivers, is they just can't handle being by themselves. You know, they need other people. One of my best friends in this world, me and him went to truck driving school together, and he actually had to go local because he could not handle being out on the road like I can. But we were also raised in very different worlds. He's from the South, and until he got into trucking, he had never actually left the South. So, very, very different lives. I was raised that you go where the work is. You know, if I live in Arizona, but the only place that's hiring is Istanbul, I go to Istanbul because I gotta work. So, we're different in that regard. He would rather not work his chosen profession than be so far away. And I understand that and I respect that. It's not my way at all, but I understand it. You know, for me, I've always looked at trucking as I'm on a permanent paid vacation. You know, that's the way I like to look at it. It makes it a lot more fun. But there is a lot of stress that comes along with it. You know, you got other people in traffic you got to deal with. You got dispatchers. Any truck driver will tell you that that word alone is enough to convey everything that it needs to. You know, so it's just something different. It's a fun life. It really is, but it's also a very stressful one. So, as you can see, I'm just adding more and more flour to this as it needs it. And I'm just, you know, giving it a nice knead, a gentle knead. And once I finish kneading this, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to pop the lid on this bowl. And we're going to go ahead and just let it sit for a little bit. I was reading the instructions on this, one of these packages, and it was actually saying that this yeast, once you give it the knead and let it sit and don't disturb it, only needs about 15 minutes to rise. So we'll test that. I don't think that I'm going to keep the camera on that whole time just because, well, editing. So, but yeah, we'll see. I'll let you guys know. this is the the monotonous part of this, because I don't know if you're supposed, like it says on the package, need, you know, 12 to 15 minutes. No. So I'm just gonna sit here and keep punching this and rolling it and punching it and rolling it and rinse and repeat until, well, quite frankly, I just feel like it's good. And I'm trying to scrape the sides, you know, get all that flour into the mix, because again, you know, this is a series that we're trying to minimize waste, you know, trying to save as much, you know, money when we can, where we can. So we'll just keep going with this, and there's still a little bit of flour left. I've got enough in there that I can definitely make tortillas one more time. So this will definitely be enough bread for multiple meals. Okay, this will probably be 3 to 4 meals worth of bread. It's feeling like, just from the weight, and I'm going to be able to stretch it. So from one bag of flour, we're going to be able to make 2 things of tortillas and enough bread to last for 3 to 4 meals. And that was, I think, I can't remember it. It was really, the flour itself was, I think, under $2. The yeast that I bought, it was a 3-pack of yeast, and it was 3 for $1.50. So even if we say the flour was $2 and the yeast was $1.50, well, we're going to use 1 package of the yeast for the bread. That's it. So we still got 2 of those to spare. So cut that $1.50 down to 50 cents. So 50 cents, and then $2 for using the whole bag of flour. I mean, I think that that's a pretty good deal. So for $2.50, we're gonna have bread for a week and be able to eat well. As you saw, I ended up having the tortillas for 2 meals from the first batch, and I'll be getting about the same from this batch, or from the next batch. And then this is going to be a few meals within itself. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and just put this into a ball right now. And I'm only doing this because this is what every bread maker I've ever seen did. So we're going to go ahead and put that on there. Extract our gloves. There's probably enough calories in our gloves to keep us going for a day out, because of all about how much that's stuck. Wipe off our shirt. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just pop the lid on this bad boy. Nice airtight lid. In fact, I'll burp it out, so that way if it pops up, I'll know. And we're going to go ahead and leave this, and I'll come back to you guys when we're ready to start the baking process. Alright folks, here we are. We have our bread. I apologize, I forgot to record when I put it in, but I took and I cooked that loaf at 400 degrees for roughly 45 minutes, you know, rotated it about halfway through. So we both sides, cut a couple pieces off, and we went ahead and toasted those. So that's the more complex part of what we're doing. So we're gonna set that aside. Okay, and right here in the bowl, we've got cheese. Now, originally a Welsh rabbit was made with a Cheshire cheese, at least according to John Townsend, who is actually the inspiration behind me making this dish. But I don't have access to that, so I use the mild cheddar that I have. Hopefully it'll turn out. I have about an equal measure of butter, and the weird ingredient here is an egg yolk. I don't know if you guys, how well you guys can see that. But we're gonna go ahead and just kind of get this all mixed up, break it up into clumps. Now again, this is, how does an idiot make this? Alright, I have no idea if I'm doing this correctly. I hope that I am, but you know, there's no real way for me to know unless, you know, I actually buy the cookbooks or what have you in order to know that I've done this right. So I'm just hoping that I've done this right. I know that these are the ingredients that are used. Well, with the exception of, like I said, I'm using a cheddar cheese instead of a Cheshire cheese. Which, again, from his video, said that it really just doesn't exist very much here in America. Like, it's hard to find in North America. So, I mean, we have to work with what we have. So, this is not mixing up the best, but you know what? It is what it is. Go ahead and clean our spoon off a little bit. Okay. And in his video, he melts this down before putting it onto the toast. I don't really have that option because I would just take up way too much time, and it's using too many things to do at once. So we're just going to spoon this directly on. I'm just going to use this other piece. Yes, I put quite a lot on that one. That's the majority of what was in the bowl. I'm going to steal from that one in order to try to even it out as much as I can. Even this out a little bit. I'm perfectly fine with the two of them sticking together. You know, on this, that's not something that I'm worried about when the cheese melts between the two. So I just don't want to waste the cheese by having it sit there on the pan and not on the bread itself. If I lose a little bit of butter or what have you, I'm not worried about that, obviously. But the cheese is the prized commodity. And that's what we're trying to not lose any of here. Okay. So, that's it for right now until I get this nice and baked up. Once I get it baked, I'll come back. I'll give you guys the nice close-up like this, and then we will go from there, and I'll give you the taste test on camera. And we made it, folks. Time to eat. So this is the truck driver version of a Welsh rabbit. It's a little hot. I just took it out. This is supposed to be enjoyed warm, so we're going to give this a moment to cool down, and we're just going to talk for a minute. So this is probably not the best meal that I'm going to make this week. In fact, I can guarantee you that it won't be. But it's important to try something new. And this doesn't cost a lot to do. It doesn't. You know, I did the breakdown earlier of how much the flour and everything cost me. This is, I think, the third or fourth meal in which I've used the same block of cheese. I bought the package of butter. I'm still using the first stick of that. So 1 pound of butter will last, you know, in my case, it's definitely going to last me over a week. So it's important to try these things, and even if they don't always turn out perfect, what I've found with cooking is you're going to make something that's edible. Is it going to be your absolute favorite thing? Probably not. But no matter what, you're going to make something that you can at least eat. And you might get lucky and make something really good. And you might copy a recipe and it might be the most amazing thing you've ever had in your life. There's really no way to know without doing it. So never be afraid to try new things just because you're on a limited budget. Alright, so let's give this a try. Okay, I can taste the bread, taste a little bit of the sweetness from the bread. You do not get the cheese. I get the butter. I can taste a little undercurrent of egg, but I really cannot taste the cheese. So I think if there's anything from this week that I would change about so far what I've done is, I did buy a few packages of ramen noodles just for quick lunches. I haven't even touched those yet. So I think I would probably have taken that $1 rather than spending it on the ramen, and I would have went ahead and spent it on a more expensive, more robust cheese. Now, don't get me wrong, this is adding to the calorie content. So it is making it more nutritious, but it's not really adding flavor. And ultimately, flavor is kind of the name of the game. So I'm going to go ahead and eat this because this is my breakfast. And I'm going to enjoy it for what it is. Because, like I said, it's actually not bad tasting. Is it the best thing I've ever had? No. But you know what? It's pretty good tasting. So thank you guys for coming along with me on this. And for dinner tonight, we're going to be reusing the bread. And we're going to have something maybe a little bit more complex. So I love you guys. And thank you again for watching. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.